My spoiled brat sister stole my money to buy a new phone, so I returned the car that my parents bought for her and kept the money. My sister Katie has always been the golden child. At 17, she gets whatever she wants without question. Designer clothes, expensive makeup, the latest gadgets. Our parents bought her a brand new Honda last month for her birthday, while I'm 19 and still taking the bus to my part-time job at a restaurant. Last Tuesday, I found my savings envelope empty. The $1,200 I'd been saving for months from my restaurant job, just gone. I confronted Katie immediately, and she didn't even try to deny it. She just shrugged and said she needed it for a new phone because hers was totally broken. I was furious, but what she said next made me see red. She told me I could just ask mom and dad for money if I needed it, like she always did. That my little job money wasn't that important anyway. Her attitude was so entitled it made my blood boil. I marched straight to the Honda dealership where my parents bought her car. The saleswoman remembered the purchase, and when I explained the situation, she was surprisingly helpful. Apparently, the car was still within the return window if there were family financial circumstances. I had Katie's keys because she'd left them on the kitchen counter. The paperwork was in the glove compartment. 3 hours later, I had a check for $18,500 deposited in my account. I kept my $1,200 and put the rest in a separate savings account. When Katie got home that evening, she stood in the driveway staring at the empty spot where her car used to be. She screamed at me for 20 minutes, threatened to tell our parents, called me every name in the book. But here's what was weird. She never once mentioned the phone, never showed me her new device, never complained that returning the car meant she couldn't afford it anymore. For someone who supposedly desperately needed a new phone, she didn't seem concerned about losing the money to buy it. I started paying attention to her behavior after that. She'd disappear for hours without explanation, something she never did before. Always claimed she was at friends' houses, but when I asked which friends, she'd get defensive and change the subject quickly. Her phone calls became secretive. She'd step outside or lock herself in the bathroom, speaking in whispers. When I walked by, she'd quickly hang up or switch to talking about homework. The same broken phone she supposedly needed to replace. Most strange was how she reacted when our parents asked about the car. I expected her to immediately tell them what I'd done, get me in massive trouble. Instead, she made up this elaborate story about the car having mechanical problems and needing to be returned for repairs. She actually begged me not to contradict her story. Katie had never begged for anything in her life. Our parents bought the lie completely, said they'd get her another car once the repairs were finished. But Katie seemed nervous rather than relieved. She started checking her phone constantly and jumping every time it buzzed. The same supposedly broken phone. Yesterday, I decided to follow her when she said she was going to study at the library after school. She took 2 different buses to get to a part of town I'd never seen her visit before, stopped at a rundown apartment building and went inside. I waited outside for 2 hours, watching through the windows of a coffee shop across the street. When she finally came out, she wasn't alone. She was with a guy who looked much older, maybe mid-20s, and he was handing her an envelope. They talked for a few minutes, and I could see she was upset, her hands shaking as she took whatever was inside. That's when I realized my sister hadn't stolen my money to buy a phone at all, and the real reason she was so desperate to keep our parents from finding out about the car had nothing to do with being spoiled. As I watched her walk away from that building, clutching that envelope like her life depended on it, I finally understood what Katie had really been doing with my $1,200 and why she was so terrified of our parents finding out. And that's when I realized my little sister wasn't the spoiled brat I thought she was. She was in serious trouble, and I had just made everything so much worse. I drive home in a daze, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. The image of Katie taking that envelope keeps replaying in my mind, the way her hands trembled, the fear in her eyes. What kind of trouble is my little sister in? When I get home, Katie's already there, locked in her room. I knock softly. "Go away," she calls, voice muffled. "Katie, we need to talk." There's nothing to talk about. I stand outside her door, debating my next move. I've never invaded her privacy before, but this feels different, dangerous. I wait until I hear the shower running in the adjoining bathroom, then use the old gift card trick I learned from YouTube to jimmy her lock. Her room looks normal at first glance, clothes scattered everywhere, makeup on her desk, school books piled in the corner, but something feels off. I start with the obvious places under the mattress, desk drawers, jewelry box. Nothing unusual. Then I spot her backpack, half hidden under a pile of clothes. Inside, I find a small makeup bag that's heavier than it should be. When I unzip it, my stomach drops. A small plastic baggie with white powder, a bent spoon, a lighter, a syringe still in its packaging. What are you doing? I spin around to find Katie standing in the doorway, hair dripping, eyes wide with panic. What is this? I hold up the baggie. Is this what my $1,200 went for? Her face crumples. You don't understand. Then help me understand, Katie, because from where I'm standing, it looks like my little sister is using drugs and stealing money to pay for them. She lunges forward, snatching the bag from my hand. Keep your voice down. Mom and Dad will hear you. Maybe they should hear me. Maybe they should know what's going on. Please, she whispers, and the desperation in her voice stops me cold. Please don't tell them. I'll explain everything, just not here. We end up in my car, parked 3 blocks away. Katie stares out the window, arms wrapped around herself. I didn't mean for it to get this bad, she finally says. It started at a party. This guy Marcus was there. He's older, 25. He said it would just make me feel good, just once. I gripped the steering wheel to keep from punching something, but it wasn't just once. She shakes her head. It feels so good at first, like nothing can hurt you. But then you need more, and more costs money. So you stole mine. I was desperate. Tears streamed down her face. Marcus said I owed him $1,200, and if I didn't pay, he'd hurt me, or worse. My blood runs cold. Is this the guy I saw you with today, at the apartment? She nods, wiping her nose with her sleeve. He deals. I've been trying to pay him back, but the interest keeps growing. When I told him I couldn't get more money, she trails off, pulling up her sleeve to reveal a bruise on her arm shaped like fingerprints. I'll kill him, I say, and I mean it. No, you don't understand. He's dangerous. He knows people. That's why I needed the car to get to him, to make payments. Now that it's gone, her voice breaks. He says I have until Friday to pay what I owe or he'll come find me. At home, the full weight of what I've done hits me. By returning her car, I've made her situation infinitely worse. Why didn't you tell me? Or Mom and Dad? She laughs bitterly. Tell the perfect parents their golden child is a junkie? They'd disown me. They wouldn't. You don't know that. And I can't disappoint them like that. She wipes her tears. I'm already such a mess. I can't even stop using. I've tried, but the withdrawal is, she shudders. It's hell. I take her hand. It's cold and clammy. Katie, you need help. Professional help. I know, she whispers. But first I need to pay Marcus or he'll hurt me. Or worse, hurt all of you. I'll help you, I say. But I need to meet him. See what we're dealing with. No way. I'm not letting you face this alone anymore. I squeeze her hand. We'll figure this out. Together. When we get home, our parents are waiting in the living room, faces tight with worry. Where have you two been? Dad demands. And Katie, where's your car? We drove by the repair shop today. They said they didn't have any Honda matching your description. Katie freezes beside me. I can practically hear her heart racing. It's not, she stammers. The car had transmission issues. I cut in. The dealership took it back for assessment. Different shop than the one you checked. Dad frowns. Why wouldn't you just tell us that? Because, Katie's voice is shaking. Because they said it might be my fault. Something about how I was driving it. I didn't want you to be mad at me for ruining such an expensive gift. Mom's face softens. Oh, honey, we wouldn't be mad about that. Cars have problems sometimes. When will it be back? Dad asks. Katie looks at me, panic in her eyes. They said it could be a couple weeks. I say, major parts on back order. Dad nods, seemingly satisfied. Katie excuses herself, practically running upstairs. As I turn to follow, Mom catches my arm. Is everything okay with your sister? She asks. She seems different lately. If only they knew how different, how dangerous, how close to the edge Katie really is. She's just stressed about school, I lie. And now the car. As I head upstairs, I can hear Katie crying softly in her room. I know I've promised to help her, but I have no idea how to fix this mess. The $18,500 sits in my account like a weight, a reminder of how badly I've misjudged everything. My phone buzzes with a text from Katie. Please don't tell them. I'm begging you. Let me fix this first. I type back. We'll fix it together, but I'm meeting Marcus. Non-negotiable. 3 dots appear, disappear, then reappear. Fine. Tomorrow after school. But you have no idea what you're getting into. Neither does she, because while she thinks I'm just going to talk to Marcus, I'm already formulating a plan to get my sister out of this nightmare, whatever it takes. I wait until Katie's asleep before I start planning. The $18,500 from the Honda sits in my account like a ticking bomb. I've promised to help her, but honestly, I have no idea what I'm getting into. Drug dealers, addiction, debt. This is so far beyond normal sibling drama that I feel like I'm drowning. The next day after school, Katie texts me an address. I drive her there in my car, both of us silent the entire way. When we pull up to the same rundown apartment complex I followed her to before, my stomach knots. Wait here, she says, reaching for the door handle. Not happening. I kill the engine. I'm coming with you. Marcus will freak if... I don't care what Marcus thinks. Either I come with you, or we drive straight to Mom and Dad. Her face crumples, but she nods. The building smells like weed and mildew. We climb 3 flights of stairs, Katie leading the way like she's done this countless times before. She stops at apartment 312 and knocks 3 quick taps, then 2 slow ones. A code. The door opens a crack. Chain still latched. A bloodshot eye appears. Who's this? A male voice. Suspicious. My brother, Katie says, voice small. He knows everything, Marcus. He's going to help with the money. The door closes, chain rattles, then opens fully. Marcus is tall and wiry, with tattoos crawling up his neck and a patchy beard. He looks older than 25, worn down by hard living. Behind him, the apartment is sparsely furnished, just a couch, TV, and coffee table covered with baggies, scales, and pills. So Big Brother's here to save the day, Marcus smirks, looking me up and down. You got my money? I step in front of Katie. We're working on it. I need to understand exactly what's going on first. Marcus laughs. A hollow sound. What's going on is your sister likes my product a little too much. Ran up a tab she can't pay. He glances at Katie. Show him what happens when you don't pay. Katie pulls up her sleeve, revealing the bruise I'd seen earlier, but also several others I hadn't. Finger marks, cigarette burns. Something white-hot ignites in my chest. You touch her again and I'll kill you. Big words. Marcus steps closer. You got no idea who you're dealing with. I know exactly who I'm dealing with. I say, keeping my voice steady despite my racing heart. A 25-year-old loser who gets high school girls addicted to drugs so he can control them. His eyes narrow. You got 3 days to get me my money. After that, it's not just Katie who pays. As we leave, I discreetly snap photos of his license plate and the apartment number with my phone. Evidence, just in case. In the car, Katie's shaking. You shouldn't have talked to him like that. He's a predator, Katie. He's not going to hurt you again. You don't understand, she whispers. He knows people. Dangerous people. That night, Katie starts getting sick. At first, our parents think it's the flu, the vomiting, the chills, the sweating. But I recognize withdrawal symptoms from the research I've been doing all night. How long has it been since you used? I ask her quietly when our parents are downstairs. Almost 20 hours. She's hugging the toilet, trembling violently. I can't do this. I need something just to take the edge off. No. I wet a washcloth and press it to her forehead. We're getting you clean. Her phone buzzes on the bathroom counter. I glance at it while she's retching. Marcus, need that money now or I'm coming to find you. You know what happens next. I delete the message before Katie sees it. The next morning, while she's sleeping fitfully, I call a rehab facility. Assessment is $750, the intake coordinator tells me. If she qualifies for the program, that's another $12,000 for 30 days inpatient. I think of the car money. I can do that. When Katie wakes up, I tell her about the appointment. She loses it. I'm not going to rehab. My friends will find out. School will find out. Mom and Dad will find out. They're going to find out anyway, Katie. You can't hide this forever. Watch me. She storms out, slamming the door. That night, I notice my wallet is open on my desk. Credit card missing. I find Katie in her room, eyes glassy, movements slow. Did you buy drugs with my credit card? Just something to help with the withdrawal. She slurs. I'll pay you back. Where is it? What did you take? She gestures vaguely toward her dresser. I find a baggie with 2 pills left. OxyContin, according to my frantic Google search. I flush them immediately. You had no right, she screams, but her voice is weak. I'm trying to save your life. The next morning, Katie doesn't come down for breakfast. Mom goes to check on her while Dad and I sit in uncomfortable silence at the table. Then Mom's scream shatters the quiet. I race upstairs to find Katie unconscious on the bathroom floor. Lips blue, barely breathing. Dad's already calling 911 while Mom cradles Katie's head, begging her to wake up. The paramedics arrive in minutes. They inject something Narcan, they call it, and Katie gasps awake, confused and angry. They load her onto a stretcher while I grab her purse, finding 3 more pills hidden in a tampon wrapper. She's been using opioids, I tell the paramedic, handing him the pills. I think she overdosed. Mom collapses against Dad, sobbing. What are you talking about? Katie doesn't do drugs. The ride to the hospital is a blur. In the emergency room, the doctor confirms what I already knew, opioid overdose. Katie's admitted for observation, and a hospital social worker sits us down in a small consultation room. Your daughter has signs of regular opioid use, she tells my shell-shocked parents. The track marks suggest this isn't new. Why didn't we know? Mom whispers, looking broken. How could we miss this? Dad turns to me, eyes narrowing. But you knew, didn't you? That's why you've been acting strange. How long have you been keeping this secret? I look at my hands, guilt crushing me. I just found out a few days ago. I was trying to get her help. By hiding it from us? Dad's voice rises. She could have died. I promised her I wouldn't tell you until she was ready, I say weakly. The social worker intervenes. What matters now is getting Katie the help she needs. She's going to need intensive treatment, family support, and probably a long recovery period. As my parents absorb this, I think about the money sitting in my account, the money that was supposed to be for my future, now the only hope for Katie's. I can pay for rehab, I say quietly. I have the money from returning her car. Mom looks up, tears streaming down her face. You returned her car? I nod. That's how I found out. She was using it to meet her dealer. The social worker gives us information on treatment facilities while my parents hold each other, their world crumbling around them. I step out into the hallway, leaning against the wall as the weight of everything crashes down on me. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Heard your sister had an accident. Next time it won't be an accident. Money. Tomorrow. Or else. Marcus. Somehow he already knows. And now the stakes are even higher. The hospital waiting room feels like purgatory, all faded pastels and the smell of antiseptic. Dad paces back and forth while Mom sits frozen, staring at nothing. The social worker left 20 minutes ago, leaving behind pamphlets about addiction that no one has touched. How could you keep this from us? Dad finally stops pacing and faces me. His voice is quiet but sharp enough to cut. Your 17-year-old sister was overdosing on opioids, and you didn't think we needed to know? I only found out a few days ago, I say, the words feeling hollow even to me. I was trying to help her. Help her? Mom's voice cracks. By returning her car? By letting her continue using drugs? What kind of help is that? I want to defend myself, explain how Katie begged me not to tell them, how I was trying to get her into rehab, but the words die in my throat when I see the devastation on my mother's face. This isn't the first time, Mom whispers, and my head snaps up. What? 6 months ago, Katie supposedly stayed overnight at Amber's house. Mom's hands twist in her lap. Amber's mother called the next morning asking if Katie was okay after she'd gotten sick at their house. Dad sits heavily beside Mom. We thought it was alcohol, teenage drinking. We grounded her for 2 weeks. It was an overdose, Mom says, tears streaming down her face. Amber's mom found her unconscious in their bathroom. They gave her something to wake her up, and we all pretended it was just too much vodka. The revelation hits me like a physical blow. 6 months. Katie's been using for at least 6 months, maybe longer. Why didn't you tell me? I ask. We were ashamed, Dad admits. And Katie promised it was a one-time mistake. We believed her because we wanted to. A doctor approaches. clipboard in hand. Mr. and Mrs. Reynolds? Katie is stable now. You can see her. Katie looks small in the hospital bed, an IV in her arm and monitors beeping steadily. Her eyes are sunken, skin pale and waxy. When she sees us, she turns away, staring at the wall. Katie, Mom rushes to her side. Baby, why? Why would you do this to yourself? Leave me alone, Katie mutters. I just want to go home. You're not going anywhere except rehab, Dad says firmly. Katie's head whips around, eyes wild. No, I can't go to rehab. You don't understand, Marcus will. Marcus won't be a problem anymore. I interrupt, pulling out my phone to show the photos I took. I have his license plate, his address, everything. Dad, we need to call the police. Dad's face hardens as he examines the photos. He steps out into the hallway, phone already pressed to his ear. You had no right, Katie hisses at me, trying to sit up but wincing from the effort. You've ruined everything. I saved your life, I counter. Twice now, apparently. A detective arrives. An hour later, a woman named Reyes with tired eyes and a notebook full of questions. She takes my statement and copies the photos from my phone. I'd like you to come with me to identify this Marcus, she says. We've had reports of someone matching his description selling to high schoolers. Mom stays with Katie while Dad and I follow Detective Reyes to Marcus's apartment. The building looks even more decrepit in daylight. 2 uniformed officers flank us as we climb the stairs. When we reach apartment 312, Detective Reyes knocks firmly. Police, open up. Silence, then shuffling. The door cracks open, and Marcus's bloodshot eyes widen when he sees me. You little, he starts, but Detective Reyes pushes the door fully open. Marcus Delgado, we have a warrant to search these premises. What happens next is a blur. Marcus tries to run, but is tackled by one of the officers. The apartment is searched, yielding bags of pills, powders, and a handgun hidden under the mattress. Detective Reyes scrolls through Katie's phone, which they confiscated at the hospital. There are at least a dozen other teenagers in these messages, she tells us grimly, all buying from him. As they lead Marcus away in handcuffs, he locks eyes with me. Your sister came to me, man. I didn't force her to do anything. I lunge toward him, but Dad grabs my arm. He's not worth it, he says quietly. Let the police handle him. Back at the hospital, the addiction specialist is talking to Mom about treatment options. The withdrawal will be difficult, he explains. Opioid dependency is one of the hardest to break. We can manage the symptoms medically, but she needs long-term care. How long? Mom asks. Minimum 30 days inpatient, followed by intensive outpatient therapy, possibly for years. We'll do whatever it takes, Dad says firmly. There's a 3-week waiting list for our inpatient program, the doctor continues. In the meantime, we can arrange. 3 weeks? I interrupt. She can't wait 3 weeks. She needs help now. I understand your concern, but there are limited beds available. I think about the $18,500 sitting in my account, money that was supposed to be for my future, now the only hope for Katie's. What about private facilities? I ask. Places without waiting lists? The doctor hesitates. There are excellent private programs, but they're expensive. We're talking $20,000 to $30,000 for 30 days. I have money, I say, looking at my parents. From the car, I can pay for it. Mom starts crying again, but this time she reaches for my hand. You do that for her, after everything? She's my sister, I say simply. That night, while Katie sleeps under hospital supervision, the 3 of us sit in the cafeteria making plans. Dad has already contacted his insurance company, but they'll only cover a fraction of the treatment costs. Mom has started researching private facilities with immediate openings. I never thought we'd be here, Dad says, staring into his untouched coffee. How did we miss this? We saw what we wanted to see, Mom replies. Katie was always so perfect, so we never looked deeper. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner, I say. I thought I could handle it myself. Dad puts his hand on my shoulder. You did what you thought was right, and returning that car, it might have saved her life. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Heard your boy got arrested. His friends aren't happy. This isn't over. I delete it without showing my parents. They have enough to worry about. Tomorrow we'll transfer Katie to a private facility in San Diego that has an opening. Tomorrow we'll start the long road to recovery. But tonight, I lie awake wondering if returning Katie's car was just the beginning of this nightmare, not the end. Katie's first day at the treatment center feels like a funeral. The facility is nicer than I expected, more like a resort than a hospital, with gardens and a small pond visible from the main entrance. But the heaviness hanging over us makes even the sunshine seem dim. I don't want to be here, Katie whispers, as we walk through the front doors, her hand gripping mine so tightly my fingers tingle. What if Marcus's friends come after me? They won't, I assure her, though the anonymous text I received after Marcus's arrest still haunts me. The police know everything. You're safe here. The intake process takes hours, forms to sign, bags to check for contraband, medical evaluations. Katie looks smaller somehow, hunched in an oversized hoodie, her face pale and drawn from the beginning stages of withdrawal. When it's time for us to leave, she panics. Don't go, she begs, clinging to Mom. Please don't leave me here. Mom strokes Katie's hair, tears streaming down her face. It's just for 30 days, sweetheart. We'll visit as much as they allow. I can't do this, Katie sobs. I'm not strong enough. Dad kneels in front of her, taking her hands. You are the strongest person I know, Katie, and when your strength fails, you have ours to borrow. The drive home is silent. The house feels empty without Katie, her absence like a physical thing taking up space in every room. That night, I lie awake staring at my ceiling, wondering if she's okay, if she's scared, if she's in pain. The family therapy sessions start 3 days later. We sit in a circle with Katie and her counselor, Dr. Chen, in a sunny room with motivational posters on the walls. Katie looks terrible, dark circles under her eyes, skin sallow, hands shaking slightly. But she's here. She's alive. Katie has been very brave, Dr. Chen begins. She's shared a lot about her journey into addiction. Today, I'd like to hear from each of you about what you've experienced. Mom goes first, her voice breaking as she describes the shock of finding out about Katie's addiction. I keep thinking about all the signs I missed, the mood swings, the secretiveness, the money that kept disappearing. I thought it was normal teenage rebellion. I was worse, Dad admits. I was so proud of Katie, so sure she was perfect, that I ignored everything that didn't fit that image. When she overdosed at Amber's house, I convinced myself it was just teenage drinking because the alternative was too frightening to consider. When it's my turn, I struggle to find the words. I was angry, I finally say. Angry that she stole my money. Angry that she got a car when I had to take the bus to work. Angry that she was the favorite. I look at Katie, who won't meet my eyes, but when I realized how much trouble she was in, none of that mattered anymore. I just wanted my sister back. Dr. Chen nods. And Katie, what would you like to say to your family? Katie picks at a loose thread on her sleeve. I'm sorry, she whispers, for everything. The stealing, the lying. She looks up, eyes filled with tears. But I'm also angry. You guys put so much pressure on me to be perfect. Dad, you were always bragging to your friends about my grades. Mom, you were always pushing me to do more activities, take more AP classes. I felt like I couldn't breathe. And then Marcus came along. Dr. Chen prompts gently. Yeah, Katie nods. He made me feel special, like I didn't have to be perfect. The pills, they made everything quiet. For the first time, I didn't feel like I was disappointing everyone. The sessions continue twice a week. Sometimes they're productive, with breakthroughs and honest conversations. Other times they end in tears and silence. But slowly, painfully, we begin to rebuild. Meanwhile, Marcus faces serious legal consequences. Detective Reyes calls us with updates: multiple felony charges for dealing to minors, possession with intent to distribute, illegal possession of a firearm. The evidence from Katie's phone and the testimonies of other teenagers he sold to create a damning case. He'll be going away for a long time, Detective Reyes assures us. Your daughter's cooperation has been invaluable. 3 months later, we gather in the community room at the treatment center to celebrate Katie's 90 days of sobriety. She looks like herself again, color in her cheeks, light in her eyes. She stands at the front of the room, holding a small bronze chip. My name is Katie, and I'm an addict, she begins, voice steady. 90 days ago, I didn't think I'd be alive today, let alone sober. I want to thank my family, especially my brother. She looks at me, tears shining in her eyes. He literally returned a car to save my life. Who does that? After the ceremony, Katie and I sit on a bench in the garden, watching ducks paddle across the pond. I'm thinking about community college, she says. Maybe psychology. I want to help people like me. I think you'd be great at that, I tell her, genuinely proud. Will you help me with the application? I'm not sure how to explain the gap in my education. Of course, I bump her shoulder with mine. That's what big brothers are for. A week later, my parents call me into the living room. Dad looks nervous, Mom excited. We have something for you, Mom says, handing me an envelope. Inside is a key and a photo of a used Toyota Camry parked in our driveway. It's not new, Dad says quickly. 5 years old, good safety rating, low mileage. We should have done this a long time ago, Mom adds. You've been taking the bus for years without complaining, working that restaurant job, saving your money. And then you gave up your car fund for Katie's treatment. Dad continues. We can never repay you for that. I turn the key over in my hand, emotion tightening my throat. You don't need to repay me, she's my sister. We know, Mom says, hugging me, but you deserve this. The following month, Katie is invited to speak at her high school about addiction. I sit in the back of the auditorium, watching my little sister stand at the podium, her voice clear and strong as she tells her story. It starts with one pill, she says, one moment of weakness, and before you know it, you're trapped in a cycle you can't escape alone. She pauses, scanning the audience. I'm here today because my family refused to let me go, especially my brother, who saw what was happening when everyone else was in denial. After her speech, we drive home in my Toyota, windows down, music playing. We're not the same people we were 6 months ago. Our family has new boundaries, new communication patterns. We talk about hard things now instead of pretending everything is perfect. Remember when you followed me to Marcus's apartment? Katie asks suddenly. How could I forget? Scariest day of my life. She's quiet for a moment. Thank you for returning my car. I was so angry at the time, but you saved my life. You're saving your own life now, I tell her. I just gave you the chance. As we pull into our driveway, Katie reaches over and squeezes my hand. I love you, you know. I love you too, kid. I squeeze back. Always will. The $18,500 from the Honda is mostly gone now, spent on Katie's treatment and recovery. But sitting here with my sister alive, sober, with a future ahead of her, I know it's the best investment I've ever made.